This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. This is lesson 1 in this jazz guitar course. I have been so excited to start this series on jazz guitar. It's one of my greater specialties. I am a charting jazz artist who's done lots of jazz recording. I've been teaching jazz guitar and jazz music, jazz ensembles, jazz combos, jazz improvisation, jazz arranging and composition, all things jazz. I have been teaching at the university level for really many years, and I'm just so excited to be starting this course and to be bringing you jazz guitar here on the online channel. I'm also a Benedetto artist. This is a Benedetto guitar. I think they're one of the finest jazz guitar makers in the world, and I am a Benedetto artist. Got my name right here on the tailpiece. Love this instrument, love the instruments that they make. So, jazz guitar is one of my favorite specialties, and I'm excited to start this course and bring it to you. I'm going to be helping you with different skills. We'll have lessons like this one that speak to a specific skill and theoretical aspect. There really are 3 main parts to playing jazz guitar. 1 is playing melodies that are already written. 2 is improvising melodies, and 3 is comping the chords, and we usually do that in an improvisatory way. So, lots of improvisation, lots of harmony. You could say that jazz is theory in action, music theory in action in probably the most profound ways most of the time. There's other styles. I love playing classical, I love playing pop and rock and folk and blues, and the other styles as well, bluegrass and so on. The other styles that start to circulate throughout this channel, but I especially love doing jazz guitar. It tends to push me the farthest. So in this lesson, we're going to work on some chords and understand the theory behind those chords and learn some different chord shapes. But there will be lessons where we're working on a tune and applying chords and improvisation techniques to that tune, as well as learning the melody. So lots of great things. This course will have many lessons, and they are there to help you learn to play jazz guitar. So I'm going to do it in sort of a progressive fashion, like I do when I get a new student that maybe wants to major in music and work on jazz guitar at the university. I'm going to do it in a progressive fashion, and it's really helpful. Even if you already know how to play jazz guitar, progressing through jazz guitar sort of line upon line will fill in any gaps that are missing. As I have studied along the way, I've often found that studying the basics helps me with my playing in the most profound way, helps fill in those gaps. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so with that introduction into the jazz course that I'm going to be doing, let's go ahead and dive into the topic of this lesson, which is Shell Voicings, or Root Guide Tone Voicings. These are fundamental voicings that are really important to learn. They are used by Freddie Green and any players trying to capture that early swing style, which we use sometimes even in music that happens later than that early swing era. But these are foundational, and they're also important because there's other types of voicings that build on top of them. And we're going to learn about that in later lessons. But let's go ahead and look at these voicings. Now, as I demonstrate them and walk through how to play them, I'm going to be using the roots on the 6th string and 5th string. We always use the roots on the 6th string and 5th string with Shell Voicings. And I'm going to be at the 6th fret. So on the 6th string, we're going to be working on B flat voicings, and then on the 5th string, we're going to be working on E flat voicings. So I'm going to keep the root at the 6th fret, so you can have that as your reference point, and we'll work on the different types of voicings that we get from it. So starting with the 6th string forms, what Shell Voicings or Root Guide Tone Voicings do is they get it down to the bare minimum, the foundational notes of the chord, the essential, most essential notes. So no color tones and no fifth. Though later on we can learn how to add the fifth on top of these voicings, or color tones like the 9th, 11th, and 13th. We can also learn how to do rootless voicings with just the guide tones plus color tones or plus the fifth. So lots of voicings that come out of this sort of approach to creating voicings on the guitar, and they're so fundamental, they sound so good, and they're so fun. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We need to know what the guide tones are. The guide tones of a chord are usually the 3rd and the 7th. In jazz, our most basic chord is a 7th chord, or alternatively a 6th chord. So basic chords for most other styles of music are just the root 3rd and 5th, like our cowboy chords. And then we get that G7 or A7, but in the jazz style, the 7th is a must most of the time. It's the occasion when we use those triad sounds. So the guide tones include the 3rd and the 7th, but when we're playing a 6th chord, the 6th replaces the 7th. We don't have the same tendency sound between the 6th and the 3rd as we do between the 7th and 3rd, but they're going to act like the guide tones. So when we're playing root plus guide tone voicings on the guitar, our root is going to be on the 5th string or the 6th string, and then our guide tones are going to be on the 3rd string and the 4th string, so these two inside strings. So let's go ahead and look at what notes will be with the 6th string forms on the 4th string. So we're going to have our root at the 6th fret, and we'll always keep it there. So we're doing B flat right now. We're going to skip over and mute. We will not be using the 5th string. At the 5th fret of the 4th string is the 6th of the chord, and it's a major 6th. So when we're playing a major or minor 6th chord, that's where our 6th is. Right above that is the flatted 7th. So when we're playing a dominant 7th or a minor 7th, that's where that note is going to be. And then the next one up is the major 7th. Now in the early era, we don't hear the major 7th very often, but in later eras, it becomes a very important sound. So that major 7th is at the 7th fret. It's 1 fret higher than where our root is. If we go any higher, we get to the root. So again, at the 5th fret, we have the 6th, then we have the minor 7th or flatted 7th, and then we have the major 7th or natural 7th. So then on the 3rd string is our thirds. So if we were to play at the 7th fret, so 1 fret higher than where our root is, we get a major 3rd. And then if we flat that, we get the minor 3rd. Now, if we were to do a suspension, we could actually go up to the 8th fret and replace the 3rd with the 4th. But that's a sound that also comes later. It's not a sound that we use very often with these shell voicings. So if I start creating different voicings, I need to use both strings. I'm going to have my root on that 6th string. If I'm going to have a major 7th and then a major 3rd, I get a major 7th chord. In theoretical terms, this is known as a major 7th chord because it's a major chord with a major 7th. But in sort of slang and normal terms, we just refer to it as the major 7th chord. So the major 7th chord right there. And this one's represented by the root, in this case would be B flat. And then it's going to have something in front of the 7th to tell us it's major. A capital M or a triangle or M-A-J, M-A, something that's telling us it's a major 7th. So that's how we recognize that one. Now, when we want to play the dominant 7th, which is a major chord with the flatted 7th, then I've got to flat my 7th, and I'm going to have what we call the major minor 7th chord in theoretical terms, but this is a dominant 7th chord in functional terms, and that's how we usually refer to it. Oh, that's the dominant 7th chord. So that flat 7 chord, that chord with the flatted 7th. So that's how we play that one. So we've got that one there. Now the major 6th, if I were to do a major 6th, still with my ring finger is going to be on that natural 3rd, I can play the 6th in place. And I should go back, actually, if we're going to play that dominant 7th chord, the chord symbol is just going to have the root and then the 7th added. So in this case, B flat 7. So then if I want to play the B flat major 6th chord, I put my index finger at that 5th fret and my middle finger on that root, and I get a major 6th chord sound. These sound so great. So the chord symbol for this one will have the root, which in this case is B flat, and then the number 6th. So I've got my B flat 6, I've got my B flat 7, and I've got my B flat major 7. And that's the chords that we get with the 5th string when they're major. Now, if we put it against a flatted 3rd, so if I go ahead and flat my 3rd, which is at the 6th fret on the 3rd string, and then I put my ring finger at that 7th fret on the 4th string, I'm going to have what we call a minor major 7th chord. We don't use these ones very often in the early era. They come in later, but it's good to know right there, our minor chord with a major 7th. The chord symbol for this one is going to have something telling us it's minor after we have the root, so like B flat and then a dash, or B flat and a lowercase m. We're going to have that there, and then we're going to have something in front of the 7th to tell us that it's a major 7th. So we're going to have B flat minor and then major 7th. It's usually something like B flat and then a lowercase m, an uppercase M, or capital letter M, and then the number 7 to tell us it's a minor major 7th. We could also have a dash telling us it's minor, followed by a triangle telling us that it's a major 7th. It's there. So that's the minor major 7th chord. Then we have the minor minor 7th chord. So if I flat that 7th and put it at the 6th fret, then I've got the minor minor 7th chord, which we just generally refer to as a minor 7th chord. So with this one, I'm going to have the root, B flat in this case, a lowercase m or a dash telling me it's minor, and then just the number 7's thrown on. And this minor 7th chord we play a lot in jazz, in old styles and new styles. So we played a lot. Now if we go down 1 fret further, we get to that 6th. Keep my ring finger there on that minor 3rd, and we'll have the minor 6th chord, which we play a lot in early eras when we're doing a lot of the Freddie Green and using these chords. And it also comes in later as well. So we've got that root, B flat, and the 6th, and then the flatted 3rd, and the chord symbol would have the B flat, a lowercase m, and then a 6 to tell us it's a minor 6th chord. Now, that's basically the chords. Those are all the chords that we have fully with these Shell Voicings. If we were to get into diminished and half diminished chords, we have an altered 5th. And so with those, we can't play them completely with the Shell Voicings. But if we needed to substitute a Shell Voicing for some reason, we could play a part of it. We could play the pieces that don't have the altered 5th. And so because a half diminished chord, or a minor 7 flat 5, would be like a minor 7 chord, but it needs that flatted 5th, I could just play, if I needed to, it's not going to sound half diminished at all, but I could play my minor 7th chord in a pinch if I needed to, just with those 3 notes. And then if I needed the fully diminished 7th chord, I could play the minor 6th, because a double flatted 7th or a fully diminished 7th makes a 6, is the same note enharmonically as a 6. And again, I'd be missing that flatted 5, so it's not a complete version, but I can get away with just playing that minor 6th chord in place of the fully diminished 7th if I need to. Okay, so that is the 6th string forms. Let's take a look at the forms that come off the 5th string. So I'm going to have my root at that 6th fret of the 5th string, and I'm going to be playing E flat chords in this case. Now, the guide tones are going to still be on the inside 2 strings when I'm playing these, but they switch strings. So my 3rd is going to be on the 4th string, and then my 6th or 7th is going to be on the 3rd string. So I got my middle finger there at the 6th fret, and we'll start here. If I put my index at the 5th fret, I have a major 3rd. So there's my major 3rd. If I go down 1 fret, down to the 4th fret, I get a minor 3rd. So I've got my major 3rd and my minor 3rd. Now if I skip over that string, I could start with the major 7th at the 7th fret. So on the 3rd string, there's my major 7th. And then if I go down 1 fret, there's my minor 7th. And then I go down 1 more fret, there's my major 6th. So let's look at how we would do these voicings. We'll start with the major ones. So I've got a major 7th when I go root, 3rd, 3rd's on that 4th string at the 5th fret, and then my 7th is at the 7th fret on the 3rd string, and now I have an E flat major 7th. The chord symbol would have E flat, and then something in front of the 7th to tell us it's a major 7th. A capital M, M-A-J, M-A, triangle, something tells us it's a major 7th. Then when we want the dominant 7th, which in theoretical terms again is that major minor 7th chord, Then I'm going to have my root, my major third, and then my flatted seventh, which is 1 fret lower than the natural seventh. So now we're at the 6th fret, and I have a dominant 7th chord there. Then if I go down 1 more fret, I get my major 6th. So in this case, I'm barring right at the 5th fret on that 3rd and 4th string, and I've got root, 3, 6, and there's my major 6. Now if we switch to where we've got the minor chord, so I've got my minor 3rd, I can come up and catch my minor chord is going to be made, by the way, by that index finger being at that 4th fret of the 4th string. And then my pinky in this case is catching the natural 7th or the major 7th that's at the 7th fret on the 3rd string. So I got root, flat 3, major 7, the chord symbol being E flat, minor, major 7th, E flat, a dash or a lowercase m telling us it's minor, and then a capital letter M or a triangle, something like that, telling us it's major. So we have a minor, major 7th chord. From there, if we do the minor 7th chord, I'm going to flat that 7th and I'm going to have my pinky, or I could rearrange my hand and go middle, index, ring if I wanted to, but I'm going to have that 7th at the 6th fret on that 3rd string. And I've got my root, my flatted 3rd, and my flatted 7th. The chord symbol is going to have the E flat and then a minus sign or a lowercase m telling us that it is a minor chord, and then we have the 7th thrown on, so we know it's a minor 7th. If we go down 1 fret further, and I'm using my middle finger here, ring, index, middle, at the 5th fret on that 3rd string, we've got a minor 6 chord. So in this case, E flat, lowercase m or a dash, and then the number 6 telling us it's E flat minor 6. So that is the shapes, and of course with these shapes, just like the other shapes for the 6th string form, then we could substitute, if we need to, that minor 7th chord for a half diminished, or that minor 6th chord for the fully diminished. In the early era, we rarely ever see a half diminished chord, but occasionally we do see the fully diminished chord, and if we want to just maintain these shell voicings, that minor 6 will work for it. So these are such great voicings. So once you've got the idea on how the shapes work, it's important to start plugging these into chord progressions and to songs. One of the best ways to start getting them down is to go through them with the circle of force. Just go around each voicing with the circle of force and get them down on the 2 strings, get them working together with good voice leading, and then we're really ready to start plugging them into different songs and different chord progressions. So that's what we're going to do in the next lesson. So in lesson 2, I'm going to take you through with the major 6th, the dominant 7th, and the minor 7th chords. We're going to go around the circle of fourths, and then if the lesson hasn't gotten too long, we can look at the other ones as well. But as we first get started learning songs here, we're going to be working with the major 6th, the dominant 7th, and the minor 7th chords a lot. So I want to make sure that we get those ones down. We'll be doing that in the next lesson. Hope you're having fun with the guitar. Keep at it. I'm excited for you to go through this course. I love jazz guitar. It's going to be great. Take care. We'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at kristenbromley.com. Take care.